Welcome back. What's going on, everybody? This is your friend Sal Cosentino. And today is the 2nd of February, 2026. I'm your CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Cloud Architect, and Trainer in Production by INC2. So, I know it's been a while since we last spoke, and I want to get to my next topic in my video series. And in this one, I want to give you guys a clear and practical breakdown with some role play examples showing the contrast between, the sales rookie versus the professional warrior, right? Talking to the same prospect. And we look at different scenarios. And when we look at these different scenarios, we're breaking down, right? A teachable breakdown of phases or cold social media prospecting. Right, with some role play examples, and we're going to show, like I said, the difference between that. And when we talk about social media, we talk about LinkedIn as just an example, right? LinkedIn, Instagram, right? Meta product, Instagram, X, TikTok, right? And Facebook as an example. There's others, right? But again, WhatsApp, whatever you need to go there. Let's make this a little larger. Okay. Okay. Mhm. So when we start looking at that, we look at the social media prospect. So again, this works across all platforms, meta platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook, et cetera, right? There's many others out there. Uh, Cold calling. When we start looking at that, we look at these role plays. You'll kind of get the gist of it when you start seeing the different examples and how these different examples work together. You'll see how these you can turn into different lessons. You can turn into different carousel posts, scripts, templates and whatnot in any scenario, right? So you'll kind of understand how that goes when we start going through these specific steps. And there's different phases and different in these different phases, you're gonna understand. Uh, you're gonna get takeaways as well too, but you're gonna understand how to start something and transition into something, into proposing something, and then also into open ending something. And that when you start looking at it, you're going to start looking at reaching out to people using locations tags just to open up the conversation, asking different questions. You're going to see a lot of focus on booking the meeting. You're not really selling the product, which is important, right? Your focus here is to book the meeting and not sell the product, right? And you're going to use their situation as leverage always in conversations. That's help people just like them, right? So think about it that way, right? Because that'll come into context, especially when you're looking into these different types of prospecting rules and whatnot, right? So Going back to the different responses, remember we have Ricky, our sales rookie, versus our sales professional warrior, and our prospect Sal. Our warrior can be anybody, but again, it could be you as well too. So we'll use you as an example. And you know, this is our fictional characters, right? Talking to the same prospect, right? So when we look at a few things. We look at one thing called our first thing I want to look at is the connection, the first touch, right? And this is step one, phase one, step one. We're going to call this the entry, which is our connection, our first touch, right? Point. So the goal here is to start a conversation, not to sell. First off, do not start a conversation, right? And we look at sales rookies here. Remember, rookies, when we talk about it, um, right? We're looking at the sales rookie and how the sales rookie reacts. So, as a sales rookie, and then we have our sales professional, professional slash warrior, right? You have to understand sales rookie. Hey Sal, I help businesses scale fast. Are you interested in my services? Well, why does that feel right? And right there is you're focused on booking the meeting here. You're not really selling the product. Are you interested in my services? Like, just come and I help, right? I can do whatever. Are you interested in my services? Yes or no? And why that fails, well, there could be one or many things, right? And why it fails is because we look at the rookie, right? Ricky, our sales rookie here, Ricky, who's our sales rookie, or fictitious, is a fictitious um, character in sales, and it's not real. So, hey, Sal, I help businesses scale fast. Are you interested in my services? Why it fails again. You're too direct. You're too soon. Like self-centered. Like I help businesses scale fast. So you're interested in my services. You're triggering resistance instantly. The reason why it's not a good um, is you have to look at it this way. Like, hey Sal, our goal here is to start a conversation, not a sell, right? So, hey Sal, I help businesses scale fast. You know, the focus is on the salesperson, right? Right, not the prospect. We you don't want to do that. You become too direct. Uh, and I'm gonna write this down for you guys because that way you have it a copy, right? And I'm gonna give you guys this as I want you guys to write this out as we talk, right? And understand this when you look at the recordings because you know I help businesses scale fast. Are you interested in my services? Right there, you're self-centered, right? The focus is on the salesperson, not the prospect. It's me. I help, not you. Are you interested? It's your I help, right? And you're not focusing on the prospect. And I said this before, right? Your focus is to book the meeting, not to sell a product, right? Right? Your focus is on the salesperson here. Think about it that way, right? And we're too direct here, too direct. It's too soon, right? And that's why that fails. And I'll explain it to you what I mean by that, right? You're in this instance, leads like this feel pressured before any trust is established, right? Too direct, too soon. Like so you're pressured, you feel pressured you're pressuring these leads, right? These prospects, and even before the trust is even established, right? Like I help scale fast. Hey Sal, I help prospect sell or lead sell, like, hey, I help scale businesses like yours scale faster. Are you interested in my services, right? You're pressuring them, right? And lastly, honestly, three, I want to talk about, triggers, right? And triggers in this, I help businesses scale faster. Are you interested in my service? And dissecting this helps. I'm telling you guys right now, this will help you 130%, right? Because these triggers itself, they're you're instantly resisting those types of triggers, right? And Sal the prospect may ignore, block, or even just disengage from the conversation, right? So the prospect, right? The prospect might um, ignore one. First off, one ignore, right? It might even block you, like they don't even want to talk to you anymore, or even disengage. You have to break this down, and this will help you understand how this works, right? And I don't care, right? Even if I offend somebody here, like you have to kind of get to the point where, stop being that salesperson. Like, hey, just buy my product. No, you don't work that way, man. You lose on the sale. And I see so many people doing this, man, and it pisses me off, right? I used to do this too. Don't kid yourself. I used to do this many times, right? But seeing people like in the millennial days, like nowadays, like guys with 20 to 30 years experience still do this. It's embarrassing. Like, where do you get training from? Like, how did you even get hired? Right? Not like, hey, Sal, I help businesses scale fast. Okay. Are you interested in my services? No. All right. Sorry, Ricky. Right there, that's a no-no, right? Like you gotta sell, you're not selling the product. You gotta book the meeting, get the person to book the meeting, and that's important. All right. And I'm gonna show you the next step here. And we're gonna do sales professional warrior here, and we're gonna talk about the better way, the approach, right? And why this works, right? And why this approach usually works. Hey Sal, came across your profile. Loved your thoughts on leadership. Great to connect with like-minded professionals like yourself. Why does it work? Right? Doesn't fail here. This is perfect. Why does this work? Why does this work? Right there, you're focusing on the prospect. You're showing them interest. You're showing interest in them, right? I came across your profile, loved your thoughts on leadership. Great to connect with like-minded professionals, right? You're a professional yourself, right? To the prospect. The prospect is obviously a professional, right? You don't come into your job not knowing what you're doing. You're not gonna call somebody not knowing what you're doing, right? You're gonna know, you're gonna do a little bit of research, right? Especially in this instance, right? And then here, like I said, your prospect is focused here. You're focused on it, focused on the prospect here, right? So perfect. Hey Sal, I came across your profile and loved your thoughts on leadership. That's the connection. That's your first touch. That's the entry, the entry, right? And second is showing interest in them and not your product, right? Again, you're not selling your product. Your focus is to book the meeting, right? And then second, right, we're going to talk about, you don't seem threatening. You're not really threatening. You're non-threatening. You're not threatening in any way, right? Look, think about it. Hey, Sal, I came across your profile and loved your thoughts on leadership. Great to connect with like-minded professionals like yourself, right? You're not threatening here, right? So and threatening, and it doesn't push for a sale immediately here. Does that push for a sale immediately here? No, right? So stop doing that when I hear, hey, I'm interested in your services. Right? You're not pushing for that sale immediately. You're building curiosity, which is my next point. You're building curiosity, right? Builds curiosity, right? And what do I mean by that? You're opening the doors for future engagement here, right? Great to connect with like-minded professionals like yourself, right? So, it's the difference here is, how do I sell, right? Again, you're not selling the product. How do I sell versus how do I start a conversation to earn trust? And that book's meanings, right? So phase one is all about laying the groundwork, no pitch, you're not really urgent, you're just connecting, right? Um, our second engagement, right? No pitch, human first, create safety. You're creating safety. You're not threatening, creating safety. Safety blanket, right? Show them you could trust you, right? Right? When we talk about the second, we're going to talk about the second step here. And the second step here is, I'm going to build this down here. I'm going to lift it up here. Let's go. And oops, we'll go step two. Oops, get out of this. Yeah, there you go. Get this out of the way. Step two, just doing a copy and paste here. And step two is, like I said before, right? You have that transition statement where you're dropping a statement and funneling a question where it's not hard to say no. So like I love that. I actually help people like you bring more clients and retain them month to month after month. Can you currently take on more clients for your business, right? So that transition statement. And this one here is conversation, not qualification, right? Conversation, conversation, station, not qualification, right? And we'll go with again rookie, sales rookie. Oops, step two. We'll go sales rookie here, and we'll say in this one, we'll say we're building comfort and momentum with this one here. That's the goal, right? So our goal in this one is, so what do you do and what are your goals this year? You're interviewing the prospect here. This right here, this conversation, and I've heard the script so many times, feels transactional, right? And shuts the prospect shuts down right away. So um, think about think about think about that when you're looking for comfort and momentum, because this is not an interview. You're selling them a product, right? So think about that, and when you're thinking about that, you know, phase two, it's the goal here is to build that comfort, build that momentum with the prospect, right? So build comfort. This is building comfort here. Building comfort, comfort, right? And momentum. And this is what I mean by that with the prospect, right? And so, what do you do, and what are your goals here this year? Right? You're not really building comfort. You're not really showing the momentum with this one, and you focus on the relationship first, where you're not on extracting information or qualifying them right away. So, in this instance, like, what are your goals this year? Like, so what do you do? You're getting them to qualify, or qualifying them to like extract information right away, right? And that makes the interaction feel natural and human, not like an interrogation. And that's our whole goal here, is to kind of what not to do in this scenario. And in this scenario, when we're talking about interview styles in this sentence here, right? And why this fails, what do you do, and what are your goals this year? Right? Why this fails? I'll tell you why. Delete this. I'm gonna delete this here. This up here. Okay. So push this up. Okay. So I'm just gonna remove these 3 points, and I'm gonna add new points here. Again, guys, I'm just doing this off the hop, raw. This is not uh, edited in any way. So, and I like this better because this is the better style for me, right? And this is actually easier for you guys to follow along and actually copy and write notes at the same time. So, you have your interview style. That right there feels like rookies. It's like this isn't an interview. You know, it's conversation, right? Right? You want you're kind of like, hey, this is a job interview. Is this a job interview? Right? Rather than just a conversation, just a regular conversation, right? You know, and then two, transactional, definitely transactional here, transactional. And when I talk about a transaction, right, it feels that because the prospect may feel like you're being scanned for data. Like, what do you do? Like, why do you care, right? You get the meeting. Don't sell the product. What are your goals? You're becoming more of like, oh, let's have a conversation here, right? Like you guys are best friends. And then lastly, we're gonna talk about shuts down the engagement, right? We're shutting down the engagement, shutting down the engagement. And when we talk about that, right, we're talking about the engagement, we're shutting down the engagement here. And you know, when we're shutting down this engagement, that leads to a short or just a closed answer, and that reduces trust, right? You're reducing trust here. So, what do you do, and what are your goals this year? Sales warriors are a little bit easier, and again, the sales warriors reducing trust. I'm going to talk about the sales warriors, and this is a great comment and objection here, and this works 100% of it. And I'll tell you why this works. And I chose this one because I love it. Curious, what's been keeping you busiest lately? Different. What do you do? What your goals are? Curious, what's been keeping you busiest lately? Busiest. Remember the language here, right? And the language is important because it is an open-ended question, right? You're encouraging the prospect to share freely, right? Like, oh, it's been keeping you busy, right? Think about it. Q&A or a question. Let me zoom in here. Sorry, guys. I'm not, it's a little small. It's a little bit bigger. There we go. You got the open ended question, right? And then you're building the curiosity here, right? Okay, so that was from the other one. So, you know, curious, what's been keeping you busiest lately? Open-ended question. You're encouraging your prospect to share freely here. Makes sense. Curious. What's been keeping you busiest or busiest lately? Your prospect leads to the conversation here, and a lot of the time I've seen this happen. Your prospect is going to talk. As if he's leading convo, man. And I've seen this happen a lot, right? And you're listening, you're listening and learning rather than extracting data. So listen to the customer, right? Pause, put yourself on that frequency. You know, you're listening and learning rather than extracting the data here, right? And lastly, and this is why this works, this kind of language, this kind of objection. High insight, low pressure, low on the pressure, right? Not really pressuring them, and high insight. I'll tell you why, right? You're giving this gives you the context naturally while you're still building the rapport with your prospects, right? And how do I? It's in this instance here, the mindset of how you're looking at it this way is so what do you do and what are your goals this year versus curious what's been keeping you busiest lately. The language here is the mindset, right? And the difference between the two. And where I see the rookie is how do I get this information to qualify them here, right? And that becomes a challenge, right? Because it becomes an interview style, it becomes transactional, and it becomes somewhere where you're just shutting down that engagement. You're reducing trust in the prospect, right? And that leads to obviously it leads to shorter, just closed answers. And this will give you, and this again will how do I get the information, right? Versus how I create a conversation where they open up and trust me right there, curious. What's been keeping you busy lately? Straightforward, right? This phase is all about warming up here, right? You're warming up the relationship. You're giving the prospects out the space to talk to you. You're positioning yourself as a trusted leader, right? And again, there's four phases to this where there's the context, right? And I don't want to talk too much here because there's going to be a lot of writing here. I want to make this as quick as possible, but I'm going to explain the last one to you, right? And I'm going to give you the fourth one, just uh, just to ask, right? And this is step 3, and this is context, I call it, right? Where there's a light discovery and no pitch whatsoever, right? And then you'll have step 4, right, which is your permission. I call it a soft transition to business, right? And again, step 3 again, our goal here is understand pain and ambition without actually forcing it. And when we look at, I'm not going to explain it here. Just text me the word um, social or media. Just text me the word media, and I'll send you over the PDF on this in the comments below. Right? We'll go through that. Text me the word. Finish that off. So context. The sales rookie right here is discussing. You know, and this is that. Oh, text here. So I'm not gonna write this down. It's just to take up too much space and time here. Okay, so sounds like you need help with that, and that's what a sales rookie is going to say. Sounds like you need help with that. And this is where the context, and this is understanding pain without even forcing it, right? So the sales rookie here would say, "Hey, Ricky would say, sounds like you need help with that. I offer coaching and programs that fix this. I offer coaching and programs that fix this." All right. I offer coaching and programs that fix this. So this right here it's just the solution that's premature, right? It sounds like you need help with that. I offer coaching, right? You're assuming pain in this one, right? And it sounds needy. You're sounding needy. You don't really want to sound needy, especially in this phase. Um, Especially when you're talking about this phase here, right? Because this phase here is important, right? And then you also have the sales warrior again. A lot of people I speak with mention that stage can get frustrating, right? You're offering that to the client, right? So, a lot of people I speak with mention, right? And this is professional role, and this is phase three again, right? Pro, and this is rookie, right? So the pro would say a lot of people I speak with mention that stage can get frustrating. That stage can get frustrating. How are you handling it right now? Right? You're normalizing this, a challenge. You're inviting reflection. You're not, there's no selling energy right here. Like you're asking questions, right? You're not selling the product, right? And simplest sections, your goal here is to understand the prospect's pain points, right? Their pain points, their challenges, their ambitions, without even just trying to sell the solution yet. Sounds like I can help right there. The rookie's trying to sell the solution, right? You're not really getting the meeting with the person. And this will kind of help out, right? And these are what not to do's. And this phase here is about listening and learning, not pitching your product, right? You're pitching your product here. You don't want that, right? It's about listening, it's about learning, right? A lot of people I speak with mention that stage can get frustrating. How are you handling it right now? Bang, right? And this right here is a premature solution, right? You're offering help before fully understanding the situation in this play. You need help with that, right? You're assuming pain. You're assuming the prospect has a problem the way you think, right? I offer like it sounds like you need help with that. Well, help with that right there is the pain, right? I offer coaching and programs to fix this. You're not a doctor. You're getting the interview, right? You're not selling it. You're assuming that the prospect has that problem and the way you think, right? And this right here sounds needy. You're needing a program. You're needing to get this done right away. You're pushing the solution too early, right? And that comes off desperate and reduces trust. So the prospect may shut down right away and may feel pressured, right? You don't want to do that. That's a no. Don't do. And when you look at the sales professional, what works, in this instance, you're normalizing the challenge, right? You're showing that you understand this, and that this is a common situation. A lot of people I speak with, right? It's a common situation. You're reflecting a lot of people I speak with, right? Let me grab my pen here. A lot of people I speak with, right? You're showing that you understand, and this is a common situation, right? And then you're inviting reflection, encouraging the prospect to share their real experience, right? How are you handling it, right? How are you handling it right now? There's no selling energy, right? Mention the stage can get frustrating. How are you handling it right now? You're not really focused on your focus is on the conversation, understanding. You're not really pitching anything here, right? You're pitching your coaching and programs that'll fix this here, rookies. And this is a no, and this pisses me off, right? So the result here for this one is versus you have your prospect that might shut you down here, right? You might shut you down. right? Or just feel pressured, right, to buy into something. Whereas this one, you're opening up, you're asking the right questions, right? You're sharing your real insights. You want to build trust. You make later phases of selling much easier here, right? So, how do I sell them versus how do I understand them fully before offering anything? And this phase here is all about listening, you're learning, you're building credibility, and this is where it starts to form, and this is where the prospect here feels hurt, right? Our last stage, I'm not going to get too much into this, but is the permission stage, right? So your soft transition to the business. And in this phase here is where, you know, you want to be able to let the prospect choose the next step, right? So let's book a call so I can explain how I help versus if it's ever useful, I'm happy to share how others in similar situations are approaching it, right? No pressure at all, right? So you're giving the control to the prospect, right? Remember, it's not how I sell them, it's how I create enough trust that selling becomes unnecessary, right? And there's no pressure whatsoever in this stage. You're removing that neediness, permission, right? If it's ever useful, let me copy this for you. And I'm just a little bit bigger. Let's make this 68. Okay. All right. All right. So if it's ever useful, I'm happy to share versus, let's book a call so I explain how this helps. Right. And this is rookie versus right? This is the rookie. Let's book a call so I can explain how I help. If it's ever useful, I'm happy to share how others and look at the language here, very professional, right? And you're not selling them here like the rookies. You're not selling them. Do not sell them. Think about saying something. Create a cheat sheet. Create something just to kind of, you know, have in front of you. Get a playbook going on. Use voice notes versions, right? Right. And this is especially when you're doing this in these templates you can use within your social media, right? When you're typing these out. Cold calling, cold social prospecting isn't about clever lines, guys, right? So it's not about language, it's not about these clever lines. It's about the pace, it's about the presence, and it's about the permission, right? If you rush the phases, you'll lose the deal. If you respect them, right? And this is a final thought, deals start pulling you in. Right? I hope that makes sense to you. Right? If you like what you see and you like what you hear in the last video, in this video, please hit the like, subscribe, and comment. And looking forward to creating more content with you guys. Take care.